Hey, it's your buddy Tim Schill here, doing another Raid Shadow Legends video. And as you can see by this myriad of offers behind me, is I've spent the last, 16 weeks or so, but this collage behind me is only a smattering of the offers I got in the last 30 days. There's about 25 more that I couldn't really fit on this screen and still make it be readable and sized right. So I put what I could on here. It gives you a pretty good understanding of the stuff you're spammed with. I'm sure any player that's playing Raid for any amount of time realizes how much spending the company wants you to do. So this is by far my most ambitious video. I spent a lot of time and effort trying to figure out what, the one question I really wanted to answer is what level of spending gets you the most progression. Not fun, because fun is pulling shards and getting Lego champions, right? Not necessarily fun, but gets you the most progression without overspending and doesn't leave any progression on the table. So I'm going to go over my methodology on how I tracked all that. I'm going to define some of my terms because I want to make sure we're all singing off the same song sheet. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you a number that I think is mathematically probably the right amount you need to spend to get the maximum progression in this game without overspending. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so over the last 16 weeks, when I started spending about 16 weeks ago, I tracked my spending, how I spent, and how that helped my progression over the course of that spending. Now, I am a engineer by degree and trade, and I have a terrible blend of OCD and ADD that makes me probably absolutely fit for this game. I don't like to let any stone go unturned, and I get itches that I just have to scratch and make sure that I understand what is going on. So for the last 16 weeks, I had meticulous notes. I tracked spending, and I'll go over my methodology on how I tracked it. But what I found was when I collected all the offers, added everything up, the first thing we really want to do is understand what our brackets are, right? So let me transition to the game mode and we'll go through what our brackets are. Okay, so let's keep talking about spending and the offers that are given. So the first thing I had to do is figure out fragment pack for Ruel. Interesting. The first thing I had to figure out was what are the boundaries for spending, right? Free to play is obviously pretty easy. Free to play is zero spending. But what if you were to buy every pack and buy these monthly deals, right? Bop, bop, bop. Let's say you bought all these monthly deals and obviously there's some things that I don't think they limit you on, right? I think you can buy some of the stuff. Yeah, you can buy some of the stuff until you just ran out of money. But I had to put a limit somewhere, right? So what I did is I added up. If you bought every offer that they sent out and all these monthly deals, you would spend about $26,730 a month, which, I mean, no one's doing, right? So I think sort of a more reasonable limit to put on is, and this isn't even reasonable, but was $16,420, which took out some of these nonsense monthly things. But that's pretty much just buying all of the packs they sent you, and then some of the monthly things that I thought were, void shards and things that would help you get some of the champions that are really vital to have in this game. So From there, I decided, okay, so let's define our terms on what. So the ultimate whale, right, is $16,420, and then from there, I would consider a whale, and I also broke this down monthly, right? Raid has two division points. They break things down weekly, for instance, the arena resets and things. But for spending, they pretty much break things down monthly. So we went monthly. So this is all monthly spending. A whale, and we can argue about the terms, but this is what I'm going to use for this video. A whale spends from $1,000 up to 16,420. A mid spender would spend $350 a month to $1,000. A low spender, $50 to $350, and then obviously a free to play would spend zero. So from there, let's talk about where you can spend your money. So getting back to this first slide, these are the three buckets that you pretty much can spend your money on. You can spend your money on champions, which are champion shards, basically pulling shards, which is a lot of fun. I mean, definitely as a dark microtransaction, transgression, transaction. Anyway, what he likes to say, it's a dopamine hit. It absolutely 100% is a dopamine hit. I compare it to fishing. I don't know how much fishing you folks have done, but when you fish, you got a fish on the line, and man, oh man, your heart races and your eyes widen, and there's that squirt of electrochemical energy that hits your lobes of your brain, and it is very, very exciting. So here are the three champions. Then you have currency. The currency are basically these three things. Currency is anything you spend to get something else, right? So you spend gems, which is the base, which is the soil, the fundamental of the currency. Because with gems, you can pretty much buy anything else. You can buy silver, you can buy energy. You can't buy potions, but potions are just used for champions, so they're a little bit of a outlier. But I threw them in currency because you do spend them to get something else, which is ascension on your champions. Silver, obviously everyone knows silver. Energy, I think, is probably the most important currency, and we'll talk about that later when I define my terms on how I measured progression. And then finally, artifacts. And artifacts are anything that go on a champion or on the equipment that goes on that champion. So artifacts are things you obviously get from dungeons and campaign, and the gems and things that you use to upgrade those artifacts. So for this game, you can see how they're all intermingled, right? You need good champions to get good artifacts. You need currency to get good champions and good artifacts. And so really finding the balance on these things is very important. Now for the game, I believe artifacts are the most important piece. You can have lower levels of champions with great artifacts, and they're going to do better with higher levels of champions and poor artifacts. So let's move on to the next section, which will be how I tracked spending versus progress. Okay, let's talk about how I tracked spending versus progress. So for the last 16 weeks, I've been taking meticulous notes and writing down how much spending I'm doing and how much progress I'm making. So you probably want to know, well, how do you measure the progress that you're making? And I think that's the right question to ask, and I will explain it to you, because I did not look at player power. I did not look at any sort of number that Plarium gives you. What I did, and I went from the top to the bottom. I have 5 buckets that I tracked my progress. The first bucket being, and the one I weighted the most highly in my progression analysis, is access to 6-star gear, right? Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, how much 6-star gear can you get in an hour? So obviously, if you're doing 11-second Fire Knight runs, you're going to get way more 6-star gear than me, who has to do 8-minute level 25 Fire Knight. So that's my first one, because this is a gear game. And if you get good gear, your champions are way better. So that's the first one. I rank that the most highly. The second one, and it might be surprising because it's an oft overlooked area of the game, is Faction War stars. right? Faction War Stars is an easy way to track progression. You have to have a lot of good champions with a lot of good gear, so it's a great way to decide if you're progressing quickly. The third one, which I think is probably be the most surprising on here, is Tag Team Arena progress, right? So for the same reason I put Faction Wars on there, to progress in the Tag Team Arena, you have to have really good teams with a really good gear and at least, 12 of them. So, so that was the third one. The fourth one was Classic Arena progress, which is easy to track with the medals that they give you. Yep, medals and yeah, they give you a number rank, right? Like 4,000 to get into platinum, that kind of thing. So you're able to track that and the rate of change. And then the last one was mission progress, both on the Arbiter mission and now on the new, whatever his name is, where you're, it's going to take me 8 months to get that new champion. But you can track the progress based on how many milestones you have passed that week, which is what I did. So that is how I ranked the progress. So then what I did is I weighted each tier and I divided it by the money spent. So I would take each tier, weight it, get some number, divided it by the money spent, and then I would get some number, right? Which would be a ratio of the progress by the money, right? Because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't getting the same progress at $X that I was at 2X, right? So I did that, and then I did some calculus, which I can't figure out how to do on the computer, and I figured out the rate of change, and then I came up with a number. And so for the video, we will say a free-to-play account progress will have a value of 1, and then anything over 1 is affected by the spending rate of change, which is what I am looking for. So now I know that I had to make some assumptions on this because I could not obviously be spending money on Raid, tracking my progress, and be a free-to-play player on the same account, tracking my progress. So I had to make some assumptions, and what I did was I looked at some of the best players probably in the world and their free-to-play account, namely Cold Brew and Ash, and I compared my progression to their progression. It seemed to hold pretty steady. I think I probably had a pretty good handle on how that money was affecting my progression. So I hope that answered questions on how I was tracking spending versus my progress. So let's go on to the results, which is what we're all here to see. Okay, here's the money shot. And I'm going to put myself up here so you can see the whole curve. So this is what we all came to see, I think, which is how much money does this game require you to spend to get the maximum progress without overspending money and just being inefficient with your money. So you can see a free-to-play, for some reason, it went just over 1, but that's came right from my spreadsheet. So I think it was like 1.1 or something. So you can see there's not much difference if you are free to play or you spend $25 a month. There's a little bump at 50, not much bump between 50 and 100, but starting at about $200 a month, you see a pretty dramatic rise. So somewhere between $600 and $700, I think, is a sweet spot per month to make this game as efficient as possible. Then it levels off to 9. So if you're going to spend, $650, you might as well spend $650 and not $1,000, right? So you can save $350 there. And then there's a slow, steady demise in progression versus money spent as you get up into the upper tiers. Now, obviously, I didn't go up to 14,000. I would imagine that number would be pretty minute because that money is not going to get you. There's just not enough time in the day to make that much money pay off for you. So the takeaway from this, I think, is about 650. I know that's a big number. But if this is your hobby, it's not a ridiculous number, right? I used to play golf, and I spent way more money on golf than $600 a month. So just keep that in mind. That's a big number, and obviously, for a video game, can tend to bring some derision. But I think that it's not ridiculous, and Yeah, it is what it is. So how do I know that that money is what needs to be spent to get the progression you want to? And I'll show you. So the proof is in the pudding when it comes to progression. And let me show you why I know this works. So first would be the missions. And I finished my Arbiter at day 67 using this progression tool. I also, right now, have 4,108 arena medals and getting hammered because this is about as high as I can go. And you can see all these teams are a little ridiculous. But look, I still win some. 92, I beat this team. Look, 94. Yeah, I still win. I still win some, right? Tag team, tag team. This is why I use it as a mile marker, because it is rough. But that's good, because it gives you a realistic view of what your teams are like compared to other people in the game. So, I have, I'm silver 4, trying to eke into gold so I can use my bars to buy a sacred shard, but that's that. And then finally, Faction Wars, I got my Lydia at day 104. So, how do I know it works? I know it works because I used it and I progressed very quickly. And again, comparing this to some of the best players in the world on their free-to-play, me being, I'm mid-game mid-game player? Yeah. I'm certainly not in the category of Cold Brew or Ash. So that's how I know it works. Hey, I realized when I stopped recording here that I never kind of showed where I was. And here, not that. Here is where, what is that? I don't know what that is. Here is where I am now. I am at day 131. So you can see I've not even got my Lordly Legionary. Really, really looking forward to that day. No, he's going to be food. But Sile of the Drakes, I cannot wait to get her. So I am counting the days. August 1st is when I get her. Not that I'm counting, but very, very much looking forward to getting her. So with that, that's going to be a wrap on the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. It was kind of a blast to make it. I hope it helped and gave you some perspective on how spending and what are some good ideas on how to spend. And from there, we can all make the right decision. Hey, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think about the video. And if I missed anything, I'd love to follow up on it. So we will see you on the next video. Bless you all.